So the beauty of the Schroth method is that, in reference to traditional physical therapy, which you've done before, there is a lot more of a three-dimensional component that comes in, because what we're trying to do is we're looking at reshaping the spine by not just doing the traditional two-dimensional exercises, but by looking at what parts of your body are rotating, what parts are side bending, what parts are deviating away from midline, and then taking those deficits or imbalances and trying to bring them back to midline by elongating to make space in your spine, by trying to get you to bring your body to midline, which helps to bring the spine closer to that balanced point where your body blocks are over one another. And then using your muscles asymmetrically. So you're using your pecs on one side, your shoulder blade retractors on the other side, because that's what creates a slight derotation, which we don't know how much we're going to get as a mature spine, but those are the three components that create that three-dimensional reshaping of your body. What's particularly important with what we do is that we also address how you sit, how you stand, how you sleep, things for you particularly addressed with your balance, looking at one side versus the other, seeing where you sit in midline so that we can start addressing how you're driving in the car, how you're sitting at a movie, how you're sitting at the dinner table, trying to make things functionally educated for you so that you really understand not only, okay, I've got a scoliosis, but this is where I expand in my spine. This is where I collapse. This is how I rebalance myself, so that even though the goal at our age is not to change the curve, because sometimes that can happen if we elongate through posture, but sometimes if you're sitting up at your longest, what we're doing is we're really trying to get you to understand how to compensate, to unload the spine so that you don't have any further progression of what's going on. So you finally start to learn how to put yourself in midline when you're sleeping, standing, sitting, bending, those kind of things. It is more of a lifestyle change than it is a physical therapy. My knee hurts, I'm going to do these exercises until my knee stops hurting, and then I'm just going to go on with life again, right? So we really try to educate you from the get-go as to what your back looks like, what kind of things are going to help you to open up the collapses, what kind of things are going to help you to compress the expanded areas, and those are going to roll through your entire day so that you're making progress of active assisted exercising even when you're just sitting and taking a call or working at the computer. So really important for this to kind of weave in throughout, so we're creating a lifestyle change for you, not just here's a set of exercises, do those for the next 4 years. Yeah, in an ideal world, obviously more important for kids than adults, because we're monitoring those x-rays as they're going through their growth phases. But for adults, the reason that x-rays are important is because there are stable scoliosis that you've had all your life that can also change with changes to your hormones, your bone density, other secondary issues that have been going on. So for me, to kind of check all the boxes, it's important to see a starting x-ray so that we know where your starting point is. And I'm a very curious person, so for me, if I was doing it, I would also want to know where am I starting from, because if you are feeling better and you are curious about your spine, you could also get a x-ray a year or two down the road and see, has my spine changed from when I started doing these exercises? And so that's not always something that people are interested in, but if your pain changes, if your posture changes, if your strength and balance change, then whether or not we've changed the Cobb angle, we've changed your quality of life. And so that's why we go beyond the Cobb angle when we look at a mature spine and talk about function and goals and pain and strength. Because whether or not we actually see a physical change to the Cobb angle, we've still created a platform from which you can unload your body, and that makes it feel better, and that creates more balance, which means that you can be confident that we're not going to be getting any worsening. But I always do encourage my adults to get x-rays every 5 to 10 years, because we just don't know what's happening. And sometimes with older scoliosises, it's going through a period of when we're going through menopause, perimenopause, those kind of changes. Sometimes it can actually pick back up speed again. And those are the kind of things that we want to know about. It also gives me a good idea of where your transition points are. Your curve goes from right to left. Sometimes the pain is at that transition point. A lot of my more mature spines might have what we call a listhesis, which means that there's instability at one joint in particular. So we have to be very careful and adapt the exercises differently when there's a listhesis going on, because your body has created its own stability. And so sometimes we don't want to elongate too much, because if we elongate and give you space, the body doesn't have the strength to control that space. So we always want to make sure that we're adapting the proper program to you that's going to work without your body fighting us.